for our American colleagues.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Really excited to have Dawn Wright here today with us at WICG. Before we get started on the event, I'm just going to give a short introduction on the Women in Coastal Geoscience and Engineering organization for anyone who might not be familiar. My name is Rose Palermo. I am co-chair of WICG, as we call ourselves, with Dr. Alejo Ortiz at Colby College, who couldn't be here today. I've been a part of WICG since 2020. We've been an organization since 2016. Is that right, City?
Yep.
Yeah. And we are a network of women and allies
Right,
seeking to
here
make
am I. There you
coastal
have
geoscience and engineering a more um, equitable place for everyone. We have members from around the globe. We're primarily in the Western countries, but we are seeking to expand and enrich our membership from everywhere. Our mission is to support, inspire, and encourage women at all stages of their careers through networking, mentoring, and advocacy for equal representation and opportunities. For networking events, we do events like these and meetups at conferences and workshops. We have a mentoring program that pairs individuals or puts groups together, and our registration is currently open for 2025, 2026. We'll be in our fifth year, I think, of the mentorship program. I can put the links in the chat later, but they're QR codes as well. We do advocacy. We do primary research on gender equity in coastal geoscience and engineering. This article from 2018 is by far our biggest effort, and we're updating that right now. We have a committee of at this point close to 30 women who organize all of our efforts. We do communications such as social media, and we send out a newsletter and have our own website. We do outreach at conferences, and we're putting together an effort for nominating women for coastal awards. We have a lot of internal programming, like I mentioned, our mentorship program. We do an International Women's Day event every year, and this year, our International Oceans Day event. We're starting to do regional programming. So we're seeking regional representatives from across the globe, research and DEI efforts as well, of which city who's organizing this event is chairing. We do have some openings for our committee, so please email us if you're interested in joining. And of course, if you're not already, please become a member. We'd love to be able to communicate with you more often and have you engage with our network. Um, oh, I'm so sorry you don't see the screen. Well, that's okay. Thank you for being here. And now I'll pass it over to City, who will introduce Dawn.
Thank you very much, Rose. So Women in Coastal Geoscience and Engineering is proud to host this very special virtual seminar honoring the extraordinary contributions of Dr. Dawn Wright, especially to celebrate World Oceans Day. Um, Dawn Wright is the chief scientist of ESRI, a pioneering marine geologist renowned for her work in ocean mapping, deep sea exploration, and marine GIS. From record-setting submersible dives to her leadership in global initiatives like Seabed 2030, she has advanced the frontiers of ocean science and technology while inspiring generations of scientists and engineers. With numerous accolades, including election to the US National Academy of Science and National Academy of Engineering, Dr. Dawn Wright is a tireless advocate for science, equity, and the ocean. Today, we celebrate her remarkable achievements and contributions to the ocean community. So, welcome, Dawn. Uh, so, it's a pleasure to have you here. Um,
I'm extremely honored to be here and to be introduced also to WITSI, to your organization. And thank you so much, not only for inviting me, but also to those of you who are online across so many time zones, because I am speaking to you from Nice, France, and the Central European time zone. And I'm just really grateful and treasuring this time with you. So thank you again.
um, oh, thank you, Dawn, for joining us. It's a real pleasure. And I know we met at the One Ocean Sign Congress, and uh, so so it's a pleasure to have you with us. And so just to start off, I've been reading your new book, Mapping the Deep. Um, so please, would you speak more about your journey to challenge deep, and how human impacts have reached the deepest place on Earth?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yes, there is this, we call it at Esri the little book that could. Mapping Mapping the Deep is the latest book that I've had the pleasure of working on with Esri Press. And thank you for bringing the book up, which is helping to fulfill the demand as to what my dive to Challenger Deep was like, but also especially for World Ocean Day, taking a broader view. That the book was something that Esri Press came to me about doing with them. So it's a collaborative effort with Esri Press writers and cartographers. And everyone wanted to know the story of my dive to Challenger Deep and what that was like to dive to over 10,900 meters. So the book does talk about that, but it takes a broader arc. It starts off with giving the particulars of the dive so that you can experience that with me, but it broadens out to talk about the Five Deeps expedition that occurred with that organization, Caladan Oceanic, before my dive, and which I consider to be much more important because the Five Deeps essentially uh, took Victor Vescovo to the five deepest places in all of the world ocean. So he went to the deepest place in the Arctic, the Atlantic, the Pacific, which is Challenger Deep, the Indian Ocean, and the Southern Ocean. And then the book broadens out even further from that to a little bit of the history of deep sea diving, including some of the harrowing parts of that history, certainly to the women who were involved in that history. It continues the arc to talk a bit more about other women explorers and maps. It circles back to my dive and to my more of a personal take on the dive. And then it ends with various ways that we can map the ocean. So how do we map the ocean from surface to full ocean depth? And why is it so important to do so? It ends with a specific call to action for readers in terms of, and we're all of you are doing this. We're all talking about this, especially for World Ocean Day, what we need to understand about the ocean, especially for issues such as pollution and sea level rise, and how the ocean regulates our weather and climate. So that's what the book is, and even for people who don't have the physical book or can't listen to the audio version, there's actually an audio version of the book which is read by a professional narrator and me. But there's an accompanying website. It's called mappingthedeep.com, and a lot of people are just going to that. It's free. It has hundreds of resources, and every single reference that is cited in Mapping the Deep has a digital item on this website. So there are maps, of course. There's the actual Challenger Deep data and videos that we collected. There are other videos. There are story maps. There's even a stop motion Lego animated film. All kinds of things for kids. So so I hope that people can experience mappingthedeep.com. Now for me, in terms of the dive, it was in one way, it was business as usual because most of my career has used submersible diving to gather data. That submersible has been a scientific instrument for me. But on the other end of it, it was just amazing to go as deep as one can go into the ocean and to experience that tectonic setting of the subduction zone, which is Challenger Deep. And I got a sense, it took us 4 hours to get to the bottom, and I got a sense of being both significant and also insignificant because it's when you're in a submersible, it's just one small point that you are visiting on the planet's surface or in the planet's inner space. Of course, it's different from being up in space where you get this broader synoptic view. And astronauts often talk about this overview effect because when they are up in space, they see the entire orb of the Earth. They see vast expanses of the planet. But if you're in the inner space the way that we were, for me, it was more of an underview effect because you're in a small submersible at one X, Y, and Z in a very, very deep, dark place. But at the same time, we felt as though we belong there. We did belong there. We are part of this planet. We are all part of the ecosystem that is the Earth, regardless of whether we understand it or not. We are part of it. And for me as a geologist, it was fantastic to see the evidence of the tectonic activity down there, the vast fields of boulders that were part of the collision zone that was that trench. Of course, we did see life, and we saw very tiny creatures that do live down there, such as anemones and sea cucumbers and little amphipods. All of those creatures are withstanding 16,000 pounds per square inch of pressure, living in complete darkness. Uh, they seemed that they're so small, they seem insignificant, but they are not. They're all part of the system that is the ocean, part of the circle of life that is the ocean that all of us are really trying to protect, especially as we think about World Ocean Day again and about what's happening here in Nice with the UN Ocean Decade Conference. At any rate, these little small creatures that we saw, one of which is named Erythenes plasticus, because it's the first species to be discovered. It was discovered by Dr. Alan Jameson with human-made plastic already entrained in its tissues. So we saw a couple of Erythenes plasticus, little tiny creatures, float past our submersible window, and it was uh, strangely tragic to think about that. Uh, but at the same time, what a picture of resilience, because those creatures are thriving. They're dealing with that part of their makeup, and they are absolutely remarkable. At any rate, Victor Vescovo, who took me down in the limiting factor submersible, it's now called the Bakunawa because it's under a different organization. But we talked about as we were in the submersible being part of this little community down there. Victor calls Challenger Deep his happy place. I mean, if you want to get away from it all, that is the place to go. But we talked about how we were part of this little community down there. the same as we're part of the totality of life on this planet. And it made us pivot to broader thoughts about life on this planet and the miracle that life is on this planet, and how that miracle is only possible because of the ocean, which is why everyone must care about the ocean, regardless of whether you live so far away from the ocean that you don't even see it. It seems like it's out of sight, out of mind, but it really isn't. It really gives you so many things. The oxygen that you breathe, and the weather patterns day to day, the climate long term. All of this is interconnected. Now we could do the whole. I could go on and on about this, but that's one of the reasons again why we have the book Mapping the Deep, and thank you again for bringing for bringing that up.
Um, Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, it's extraordinary that how your journey to Challenger Deep has found such um human impacts, and especially about the the class, which is the name of the species?
Erythrines
Yeah,
is the genus, and the species name is Plasticus.
plasticus. Yeah,
So that's incredibly tragic, but it's appropriate.
yeah. So you spoke a bit about GIS technologies. How can they be utilized to explore the deep sea and as well as coastal waters? Um,
Well, so for the Challenger Deep Dive, in fact, at mappingthedeep.com, you can actually get the GIS data that was part of that expedition. GIS was used to actually process and create maps of the bathymetry that we collected. The ship that deployed the submersible is actually one of the ships that has a tremendously amazing multi-beam sonar. So the our mission, our expedition was not just about the diving; it was actually mapping the entirety of the Mariana Trench, in fact, providing bathymetry for seabed, the Seabed 2030 initiative, and that's one of the UN Ocean Decade programs. And GIS was also used to track the submersible and to manage observations that were collected from the submersible and also from the landers. Uh, GIS, for those who aren't familiar with GIS, if you're dealing with anything having to do with location, GIS is a technology that can manage, that can analyze. It's the analytics, the spatial analytics in GIS that are really its superpower, as well as creating maps, creating visualizations, and certainly for the coast and the ocean, doing this not just on a flat plane in 2 dimensions, but doing it in 3D is also something that GIS is more than capable of doing now. In fact, we consider at Esri, we consider our product ArcGIS to be what's known as a digital twin of the planet, because it integrates so many different data sources and systems using location as that hook, the latitude, longitude, depth, or elevation. And now we're actually integrated with Unity and Unreal game engines. So it's that scientific, serious gaming aspect that really lends itself to giving you the ability to step into a virtual world. And that is really what a digital twin is. It's a virtual representation of an object or a process or a system that bridges the gap for you between physical and digital worlds. That's what a map does. It's helping you to, if you're looking at a map on a screen, on a device using a digital device, you have some connection to the physical world that that device is showing you. A digital twin is like a complex avatar. Maybe some of you are gamers, so you can really relate to this. But it's more than just a visualization. It actually for the coast and for the ocean, there is this amazing two-way connection where observations from the real ocean or coast as they change, that is part of the digital twin that updates and refines itself so that you can monitor conditions, so that you can create future scenarios of conditions. And one of the biggest applications of digital twins is, of course, sea level rise, mapping and monitoring and predicting. In the same way, you are able to manipulate this digital twin, which allows you then to highlight regions of the real ocean or the real coast that need better or different observations. For those of you who are in coastal engineering, maybe you're working with ports, and that's another huge area of application for this, because a digital twin of a port helps to more accurately model everything from the weather in that port to the number, speed, and direction of ships, all the best times for berthing of those ships, offloading, onloading of cargo. So this is a really exciting world right now in terms of GIS, how GIS has evolved, the technology that it's available, the technology that we're trying to make available to everyone. One of the things that we're trying to do at Esri is to put as much of our analytics into the cloud so that really all you need is a web browser. If you have a web browser and a good internet connection, then you can do GIS and you can work with all of these amazing applications that we are building and that other companies are building. It's really quite a remarkable field and quite a remarkable time to be working with these technologies and digital twins. We talk quite a bit about digital twins at the One Ocean Science Congress. So digital twin is it's a trend, and everyone is excited about it. But in many respects, there have been digital twins from the days of the early Atari game video games, where we're just bringing it to bear for science. And there are a lot of resources that I could share with you. Maybe after the webinar, I can share some of these resources that can be passed around to the group in terms of how you can find out more about this technology or get access to it.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Uh, so I this is just a question, which is about marine habitat mapping tools, and uh, I know they're very useful. Like machine learning is being applied in GIS applications. How can how is it being applied to address climate change challenges, such as like ecological benthic units, for example? And
Well, so you used the term machine learning, which is very apropos for GIS. Machine learning has actually been around for many years, even before we started calling it machine learning. And at Esri, we think of machine learning as a subset of artificial intelligence. So you often see machine learning slash AI. This is basically just the ability of an algorithm to learn. Uh, I I was born in the 1960s, full disclosure, and one of the huge hits for my generation was the 1980 80s movie War Games, which is one of the first movies to actually address machine learning and artificial intelligence. And the machine says to the hero in the movie, "Shall we play a game?" And that's really what a lot of this is about, that the machine is playing a special type of game with you that you have programmed it to do. And the more data you give it, the more it learns and the better it gets at that game. Now, in the case of what you're referring to with habitat mapping or with any GIS analytical application, that is the game. You are trying to understand what a habitat is. Are there seamounts? Are there mounds? Are there cracks and crevices where certain types of species live? Who is living where? Who needs to live where, given the activities, the human activities that we are conducting in these habitats or near these areas? And how can the machine, how can the computer help us to better understand and even to predict, for instance, what's going to happen to a habitat over time, given natural or man-made activities or conditions in that area? So GIS has had these types of learning algorithms probably since at least the 1990s. That's when I got into the GIS game and learned about the technology. So things have been progressing very quickly. GIS is totally in the middle of the whole AI revolution, I guess, that's going on right now. There are also discussions about the being responsible and ethical with that at the same time. But when we now, at speaking again from the standpoint of Esri, when we talk about artificial intelligence in our products in ArcGIS, we usually talk about two categories. There are the actual artificial intelligence tools and models that that we build, and they are usually used to extract information from imagery. You know, a lot of things that we do with AI in GIS are really to automate processes to help us be more efficient, to do our job more quickly, to get to an answer more quickly. So extracting knowledge or extracting information from imagery, such as side scan sonar imagery, for instance, or even from vector or tabular or textual data, extracting that information and then analyzing that information at scale. And the analysis usually helps us to identify things or to classify things, and where possible, to predict patterns, to predict spatial patterns. So that's one category, and that's where the ecological benthic units comes in, because in that particular project where we're trying to geomorphically characterize the entire global seafloor uh, for for ecology, not just to know about where there are peaks and valleys, ridges, seamounts, but what do those mean ecologically for habitats and for creatures that live there. So with the for this particular project, and we had millions and millions and millions of points, we used a fast k-means clustering machine learning technique to cluster the thousands and thousands of geomorphic feature types that we have available to us. Most of these are feature type polygons, and we clustered those characterizations along with other parameters such as depth, seabed slope, sediment thickness, primary production, bottom water dissolved oxygen, bottom water temperature. So machine learning really helped us because we would still be working on this, trying to do this clustering of these data. Uh, if we tried to do that by hand, it would take months and months. As it were, it took us only about a week. to cluster all of these parameters into more ecologically meaningful subclassifications. And that's what we're calling the ecological benthic units. So that's one category of AI, the actual processing and analysis of data. There's a second category of AI that is really coming to the fore recently, and that's enhancing the experience of working with the software. In our case, enhancing the experience of working with ArcGIS. And this is by way of using agents and assistants. So these are little programs that use natural language and context-aware user interfaces to help you understand the intent and the performance of certain GIS tasks. So, and in ArcGIS, we're using large language models that we have created that are trained. These large language models are trained on our documentation. We have millions and millions of pages of documentation on how to use all of our functions. And it's been very, very difficult, especially for new users to our technology to where do I start if I want to do uh, an empirical Bayesian kriging of my data, or if I want to create a habitat suitability model of a coastal region, given the data that I have, where do I start? And so now we are working on agents that it's a chat. So you put into the chat, I want to make a habitat suitability map of my data. As simple as that. And the agent will look at the data that you have available and will step you through some suggested processes in order to get your habitat suitability map. It doesn't do it for you. It doesn't take the agency out of your hands. You still have to do the analysis. You still have to have knowledge, but at the same time, and expertise. But at the same time, these agents or assistants help you to work with our technology. So, uh, so that's a habitat suitability or a coastal engineering type of example. But I'm going to return to the digital twin concept because digital twins, of course, are infused with AI. And with that infusion, they're playing a huge role in providing a whole host of climate change solutions. And there are tons of examples of this that are really very hopeful and really very inspiring. At Esri, we've worked with local and state governments to build digital twins of cities, including many coastal cities, for designing and testing of urban plans of those cities to help those cities shed heat by identifying the best places to plant vegetation or to install reflective roofing. We have been using digital twins, and we consider GIS to be the foundation of a digital twin to make carbon emissions visible by tracking the carbon footprints of a highway system or a neighborhood or a university campus or a business supply chain. So this is in order to make carbon dioxide and more recently methane data public knowledge. So you can see the map of the emissions. There are a lot of applications, and maybe some of you in the audience have been involved in this in terms of mapping communities that are vulnerable to heat or sea level rise or other hazards, predicting areas that will experience storm impacts, especially flooding with AI, mapping of coming from, I live in California, so mapping areas of drought to help decision makers know what water resources can sustain energy or agriculture or residential needs. Mapping historic and real-time wildfire is huge for us in California. So there are many ways in which GIS is being used in terms of helping with to bring climate solutions to bear. There's actually a course, a free course where you can learn much more about this. It's called a MOOC, a massively open online course, MOOC. There are all kinds of MOOCs that are on the internet now by all kinds of organizations. Some of them are being used as part of university curricula. We have a GIS for Climate Action MOOC, and it's a 6-week course. We give you the software that you need, the data that you need. It has videos, lots of interesting conversations, such as between me and Chief Scientist of the Nature Conservancy, Catherine Hayhoe, about salient climate issues. And then not only just thinking and talking about those issues, but what can you do to solve these issues with mapping, with GIS. So in this particular course, you can explore some climate change indicators and risks and evaluate the options to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions, such as the example I talked about before. You can use GIS analysis to identify potential risks of flooding. So especially for those of you working in the coastal engineering realms, flooding and other climate related hazards on exposed areas over time. You can also evaluate climate change impacts on vulnerable populations, especially populations of color, low income populations that are living in the worst areas along the coasts. And you can plan some adaptive strategies to address climate change hazards. So the course takes you through some scenarios with the appropriate data. And this is mainly to help you to learn how to do these types of analyses with GIS to give you ideas for the real work that you're doing. And there are ways that you can create really cool maps, of course. You can create a dashboard to monitor climate data, to inspire and communicate to your audiences, to create stories. So this is a course that runs a couple of times a year. Ooh, I think I can put something, can I put something in the chat?
Yeah,
I'll just try to do that myself here.
yep. I think Rose has put the MOOC in the chat as well. So
Oh, great, great. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Rose. Rose is always right on top of things. So there you go. I think there is a waiting list for the course right now until we fit it into the schedule along with the other courses that we offer.
Okay, so thank you very much. I look forward to I think I've signed up for the course, so um I look forward to participating. And so we have some questions which have been submitted by the audience. Um, as a young graduate and coastal engineer early in their career, what can I do better to stand out in the field, and any career advice for soon to be graduating PhD in coastal sciences? Like,
Well, I want to acknowledge that the world indeed has gone crazy. This is, especially in the United States, this is an incredibly difficult time. But at the same time, there is a lot of hope out there. There are a lot of opportunities. Uh, there, there are a lot of communities, and I'm so glad that you have your SIGG community, because that's one of the most important things to be in, and with the mentoring and the other benefits of this community that Rose introduced at the beginning. In general, I would say for a young graduate, just to be as adaptive as you can, just try and participating in webinars like this where you're learning about uh, hopefully some new things is always good. It's always good to keep up with trends. So I've just talked about the trend of digital twins. There are going to be a lot of job opportunities that will mention that term and that will look for people with that expertise or with that knowledge or with that interest. Know also that if you get into a particular organization, if you're hired into an organization, you don't have to know everything right at the get-go. Oftentimes, an organization will teach you what you need to know. What they're looking for instead are what we call now the soft skills. They're looking for your ability to work on a team. Uh, they may be looking for leadership. They may be looking for the level of initiative that you have. For organizations that are really the best organizations, in my view, they're going to be looking at whether you have empathy or kindness as well. You know, that's part of what we look for in hiring people to Esri. Teamwork, kindness, respect, empathy. These are all very important, and the way that you can showcase that, I think, is also through having some type of online portfolio. I've been telling this to my students since the 1990s when I started having graduate students at Oregon State University. If you do some type of project or you're involved with an organization like your organization here, make sure that there is a web presence that you can show to people in terms of what you are doing with that organization or what you have done in terms of a project, what you have published. Many young people are doing blogs, TikTok reels, all of that. If you've got some way to showcase that and have it together in the only word I can think of is a portfolio, a link that you can send to an employer or to an organization that shows that. A lot of young people are using a story map as their online portfolio, and the story map can incorporate text, but also maps, all kinds of links, videos, all of that is just in one website. So I would certainly recommend that. And then being in this organization, I think is already something that will stand you in good stead and help you to stand out. And there are allied or parallel organizations that are out there, such as since we're here for the UN Ocean Conference, there is a steady stream of programs or events that the UN Ocean Decade ECOPs are running, the Early Career Ocean Professionals. They are doing a tremendous job and they're always sharing resources. They have a new program, a newly uh, reformed program that includes ECOPs that are working on a broader array of areas, including the deep ocean. So now there's a subgroup called the deep ECOPs. But if you look up the Ocean Decade Early Career Ocean Professionals, that's uh, another area that I think will be helpful.
Okay. Um, and um, with DEI initiatives being challenged by what is happening in the States, I know you mentioned that it's a difficult time for every everybody uh in and also in many parts of the world. What can new scientists and DEI advocates do to protect this space? Like, um,
Yes, I think the best thing that we can do is to keep going, to keep doing what we are doing. So As a Black scientist, I'm involved, for instance, in two organizations. One is the Black and Marine Science Organization, or BIMS, and another is Black Women in Ecology, Evolution, and Marine Science, BWEAMS. So I think you can find out about those organizations, BIMS.org or BWEEMS.org. Those organizations are moving forward. They have not stopped at all. Their funding, parts of their funding has been taken away from them, but they're pivoting to other sources of funding, especially philanthropy, so that they can continue their programs, their projects, their dreams, and they are not deterred. And I think that's one of the things that we absolutely have to learn from and emulate as well. The forces that be who are challenging the legitimacy of DEI, they want us to get discouraged. They want us to stop. They want us to give up. Oh my gosh, do not give them that satisfaction. Uh, there are there's so many aspects of community that are important though in doing this. You can't do this by yourself. So I think one of the best things that we can do, especially in the U.S., is we have this expression in the U.S. to get into community. So be involved with an organization, be involved with a support group, be involved with, just don't try to go through this alone. There are so many nonprofits and also state and local government agencies that are hanging on to their DEI programs. At Esri, we still have a racial equity and social justice initiative, and we are supporting those organizations. And I think it's going to be important to look to the nonprofit sector and to the state and local government sector, even for jobs, while the broader scientific community here in the U.S., while we fight to restore the federal government and the university scientific space, because it is a fight going on out there. There are lawsuits, there are op-eds, we're marching in the streets. When I get back to the United States, I hope to be involved in a couple of protest marches. But in terms of this community, this is really important because it's often said that every action by an individual matters, and it does. But so many wise leaders have said that change begins with individuals but thrives in communities. So it's important for us to find our people and to interlock with our people, to get rooted as a tree or as a coral reef would get rooted and get foundational, and to find rest and resilience and respite in that, so that we can survive this. I've been following Karen Ataya. For those of you who maybe have followed the Washington Post, she's a writer she's a Nigerian, Ghanaian American journalist. I'll just leave it at that. And she's very vocal on social media now, particularly Blue Sky. And she has so many, I love following her. And she's used this analogy in the past about when there's a hurricane or a typhoon, do we tell people to stay outside and fight the wind and the water by themselves? No, we tell them to board their houses, gather supplies, get emergency kits, seek higher ground, get together in teams or in families because you want to survive. So I think that's one message. At least that's the only thing that's the main thing that's resonating with me right now. It's just keep going with what you're doing, or join in the fight with organizations. In my case, it's BIMS or BWEAMS. they're not stopping. They're keeping their programs going. The only way forward through all of this is to get through it and to get through it together. There are also a couple of newsletters that I found really important. One of them is Liz Neely's Meeting the Moment. And this is, she talks about DEI, but she just talks about strategies for surviving the current attacks on the scientific community. She is such a great communicator and organizer, such a wise person. Uh, let's see if I can put this in the chat. And you can find it. Oh, thank you. Oh, my goodness. Great.
I've got it, Dawn. You can keep going.
Okay. Liz Neely. I don't have the link, but you can find it. And finally, I'm you can get tired and you can get discouraged. And as a someone with my background, having been a child in the 60s, I thought in the 60s with the civil rights era that this was all going to be solved, all those battles were going to be fought and won. And by the time that I became an adult, then we would have a different world and we could just focus on climate change. But no, my gosh, we have, especially in the US, we have fallen back into the 50s, the 40s. I just can't believe what's going on right now. But at the same time, I am encouraged when I think about this as a long-term process. This whole changing the world for racial equity and social justice and ocean justice, this is part of a long-term process. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I keep this quote from Coretta Scott King on my laptop and my desktop. Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. So get as much rest as you can. Keep yourself, get enough sleep, and join the fight for the long term. And we're all in it together.
We're all in it together, yeah. Definitely. And thank you so much, Dawn. I just have one last question, to because I know we have we're running out of time as well. And where do you see the future of your work on oceanography and the applications of GIS going? And what are you most excited about for coastal science?
Well, I think especially being here in Nice with so many scientists and decision makers and activists from so many countries, uh, what I would like to see for ocean and coastal science, and I think we're seeing this, is finally a respect and an inclusion of indigenous knowledge and indigenous communities. And including that knowledge from the very beginning of our projects. I'm going to be involved in a special documentary film premiere tonight that talks about the Micronesian people. It's called Remathau, the ocean people. And it's really the story of Nicole Yamase, who she is a PhD in marine biology. And in 2021, she became the first Pacific Islander to dive to Challenger Deep. So her story and my story are somewhat linked in terms of the Challenger Deep aspect and what our dives have meant to our respective communities. Her story is incredibly powerful and wonderful, and I think it will give people an awareness of Micronesia, not Polynesia, but Micronesia, and the great, amazing knowledge that the Micronesian people have of the Pacific that we desperately need if we're going to understand not only the Pacific, but the global ocean. So that's one area. That's where I see things going. I really do see it going that where that in that direction. including with GIS applications. There's also the Upwell conference series that speaks to this. The conference series is called Upwell, A Wave of Ocean Justice. And again, you can Google that and you'll find out the Center for American Progress runs that conference series. I think digital twins is going to be a big part of the future, especially as things become more 3D and gamified, and not just for the people who are technically rich, but for big ocean states like the countries in Micronesia, small island developing states, big ocean states, everyone having equitable access to digital twin technology. So there are other areas, but right now, especially being here in Nice this week, those two are top of mind for me.
Well, thank you so much, Dawn. That's we've had some questions about where you can see the film, and I think Rose has answered that. And, but this has been a really insightful conversation. So thank you for sharing with us your thoughts and knowledge and links and story maps, and so I hope um, I hope I hope we can what um, stay connected, and if we can share resources, anything that you have, you can send them to us, and we can circulate it with the group as well. So um, it's
Thank you so much.
yeah, and if so so if anybody has, if Rose has any final words, Rose?
No, just thank you so much for coming, Dawn, and thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you, City, for organizing. It was a fantastic seminar.
Thank you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Nice. And I hope it's a very productive time for the ocean, and on especially in light of World Ocean Day as well. So
Yes, indeed.
thank you.
And best wishes to all of you in your work and maybe in your activism. And let's keep in touch.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, we have many thank yous in the chat, and um, thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, John. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Nice.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and hope you can join Vic G as well with if you're not a member already, and okay, thank you, bye.